I came to the three-sun planet. Alien women surrounded me and gazed at me with curiosity. Captain Elias Kane adjusted his helmet as he stepped out of the small shuttle onto the surface of the three-sun planet. The ground beneath him was soft but firm, covered with strange, glowing plants that swayed slightly despite the absence of any wind. Three suns hung in the sky, each casting a different hue, one a warm gold, another a bright orange, and the third a pale violet. The overlapping sunlight created shifting patterns on the ground, making every surface appear alive. Elias had visited many planets before, but nothing like this greeted him. It was a world that seemed to shine with life and energy of its own, a place that held secrets beyond anything humans had yet encountered. He paused for a moment, scanning the horizon. Towering crystalline trees reached high into the sky, their leaves sparkling in hues that shifted like the colors of a rainbow. Strange creatures darted through the foliage, some glowing faintly, others moving with a fluidity that suggested intelligence. Elias took careful steps, aware that every movement could be observed by the planet's inhabitants. He was not just an explorer, he was a visitor in a world that might not understand him. His mission was to observe, learn, and establish first contact with any intelligent life he might find. It did not take long. Near a crystalline lake that reflected all three suns, Elias noticed movement. Figures emerged from the foliage, moving with a grace that made them appear almost weightless. They were humanoid in form, but taller than humans, their skin shimmering in patterns that seemed to change depending on the angle of the light. Their eyes were wide, luminous, and full of curiosity. He counted at least 6 of them, all women, and all observing him carefully from a distance. Elias held his ground, keeping his hands visible to show he meant no harm. The alien women did not advance aggressively. Instead, they circled him slowly, their gazes intense yet calm. He could sense that they were intelligent, each movement deliberate and thoughtful. Though he could not understand their language, there was a rhythm to their speech, a soft melodic sound that felt almost musical. Elias remembered his training. Patience, observation, and respect were his best tools in such moments. He slowly raised his hand in greeting, moving in a way that would be universally understood. The women mirrored his gesture, their long fingers raising in unison. One of them, slightly taller than the others and with a faint glow surrounding her, stepped forward. She tilted her head, studying him closely. Elias sensed her focus. It was as if she were examining not just his body but his very essence. The feeling was unusual, even unsettling, but he stayed calm. His own curiosity mirrored hers. Elias reached into his suit and retrieved a small device that projected a holographic display. He activated it, and images of Earth appeared in the air above his hand. Mountains, rivers, forests, and cities. Humans walking, talking, working, and playing. The alien women leaned closer, their glowing eyes following every image. He saw gestures of wonder and surprise in their movements, small inclinations of their heads, and whispers in their melodic tongue. He could not understand the words, but the tone was one of fascination. Encouraged by their reaction, Elias continued. He projected images of human inventions, tools, vehicles, machines, and music instruments. One woman extended her hand, letting her fingers pass through the light of the hologram. As she did, the holographic images shimmered and shifted, bending slightly around her fingers. Elias realized she was interacting with the images, not just watching them. It was a sign of intelligence and perhaps some form of technology or ability beyond what he had expected. He attempted another gesture. He picked up a small ration from his kit and held it out, indicating that it was food. The women hesitated at first, then one stepped forward cautiously. She touched it lightly, examining it. Elias watched carefully, ready to withdraw if she reacted negatively, but she only smiled softly, a movement that conveyed warmth and trust. Another woman mimicked her gesture, and soon all of them were exploring the food with curiosity, tasting or testing it carefully. Elias realized that this simple act of sharing sustenance was forming the first bridge between their species. Time passed slowly, the suns moving across the sky in a rhythm unfamiliar to him. Elias began to notice more about their behavior. They did not speak in loud or aggressive tones. Their movements were deliberate, elegant, almost like a dance. Every glance, every gesture seemed to have meaning. He observed them whispering among themselves, their heads tilting as if listening to thoughts as well as sounds. It was clear that their society valued subtlety, observation, and careful understanding over confrontation or haste. By the middle of the day, Elias had learned to mimic some of their gestures, and they, in turn, mirrored his actions. The distance between them shrank gradually, not in a rush but in a series of small, cautious steps. Elias felt a strange sense of connection, as though this moment, brief as it was, had the potential to shape the future of both species. He marveled at the idea that curiosity alone had brought them together. One small act of mutual understanding could lead to something far greater. The women finally guided him toward the edge of the lake. Here the ground rose slightly, forming a platform of smooth crystal that reflected the sun's light in dazzling patterns. They gestured for him to step forward, and Elias complied. He was careful, aware that every action mattered. The taller woman who had first approached him remained close, her gaze calm and steady. As he looked around, he noticed that the lake itself seemed to respond to their presence. The water shimmered, sending ripples of light that matched the glow of their skin. Elias realized this world was not just alive in the physical sense, but also in ways he had never imagined, sensitive, responsive, and aware. He attempted another form of communication. Drawing on his knowledge of universal symbols, he etched a simple circle in the ground with a stick. One of the alien women bent down, her fingers tracing the symbol in the air, causing it to shimmer and multiply. Elias watched in awe. Here was proof that intelligence could be recognized across species, that curiosity could create shared understanding even without words. The bond of observation and learning was growing stronger with each passing moment. As the suns began to dip in the sky, though never fully setting, Elias sensed the approach of night, or at least a change in light. Shadows lengthened, stretching across the crystal platform. The women gathered together, their voices rising in a soft, harmonious chorus. Though he could not comprehend the words, he felt the meaning. They were acknowledging him, welcoming him, inviting him to remain. Elias nodded, returning the gesture with humility. In that moment, he understood something essential. Respect, patience, and openness were the keys to surviving and thriving in this alien world. The taller woman stepped closer, reaching out a hand in a gesture that was both delicate and deliberate. Elias took it cautiously, feeling a warm pulse of energy, a subtle reassurance. Around them, the other women watched silently, their faces calm, curious, and patient. Elias realized that he had passed an unspoken threshold. He was no longer merely a visitor or an observer. He had begun to form a connection, a fragile but real bridge between human and alien. Night, or the closest equivalent on this planet, arrived with an array of soft, shifting lights. The three suns lowered to different positions, casting long, overlapping shadows. The alien women guided Elias to a clearing where the ground rose slightly, forming a natural amphitheater. Here, they gestured for him to rest, offering a small, softly glowing mat of woven plant fibers. Elias complied, feeling a strange sense of peace. He had expected danger, conflict, or uncertainty, yet here he was, surrounded by beings who were curious, intelligent, and now cautiously trusting him. He lay on the mat, staring at the sky and the three suns above. His mind raced with thoughts of what this encounter could mean. Humanity had always imagined meeting intelligent life in the stars, yet he had never expected to feel such immediate connection, to sense curiosity and emotion so clearly reflected in the eyes of another species. Elias realized that the true value of this mission was not in gathering data, but in understanding, in forming bonds, and in learning that intelligence and empathy were universal. As the alien women settled around him, their soft, glowing patterns flickering with light, Elias felt the weight of responsibility. He was the first human to step onto this planet, the first to meet its inhabitants. How he acted, how he chose to communicate, could determine the course of relations between humanity and this alien civilization. Yet he also felt hope that curiosity, patience, and kindness could transcend the boundaries of species and worlds. Elias closed his eyes, letting the warm, shifting light of the suns wash over him. He knew that tomorrow would bring further challenges, opportunities, and discoveries. But for now, he allowed himself to feel awe, connection, and cautious optimism. On this three-sun planet, surrounded by alien women whose curiosity had matched his own, he was no longer just an explorer. He was part of something bigger, something alive, something waiting to be understood. And in that moment, As the light danced across the crystalline lake and the soft chorus of alien voices filled the air, Elias Kane felt the first true spark of interstellar friendship, an unspoken bond that would guide him, and perhaps humanity, toward a future brighter than any single sun could provide. The morning on the three-sun planet broke in a cascade of colors as Elias Kane awoke on the soft, glowing mat that the alien women had provided. The light from the three suns painted the sky in overlapping shades of gold, orange, and violet. He sat up slowly, aware that this world was unlike anything he had ever seen. The crystalline trees shimmered in the sunlight, their leaves refracting light in dazzling patterns. Strange creatures moved among the foliage, some fluttering like birds, others slithering with smooth, fluid motions. Elias knew he had to remain calm and observant. This was his first full day in close contact with the alien women who had surrounded him upon his arrival. The women were already nearby, moving gracefully along the edge of the lake. They were calm and poised, their shimmering skin reflecting the sunlight in soft waves. Elias observed them carefully. He had already learned that they were intelligent and highly observant. Each gesture, each glance seemed purposeful. Today, he would try to understand them better and deepen the fragile connection they had begun. He rose to his feet, keeping his movements slow and deliberate. One of the women, the taller one who had first approached him, stepped forward, tilting her head slightly. Elias nodded in greeting, and she mirrored the gesture. Then she moved closer, indicating with a hand motion that he should follow. Elias complied, moving across the soft, luminous ground toward a group of glowing plants that seemed to pulse gently as if alive. As he approached, he noticed that the other alien women had gathered around the area. Their eyes shone with curiosity, and a soft, harmonious hum filled the air. Elias understood that this was their way of communicating, or perhaps signaling observation and attention. He stood quietly, letting them take the lead, knowing that patience was essential. One of the women stepped forward and extended her hand. Elias recognized the gesture as an invitation, a sign of trust. He hesitated briefly, then gently placed his hand in hers. A soft warmth spread through his fingers, a sensation that was both comforting and strange. He realized that their touch was more than physical contact. It conveyed emotion, a subtle form of communication. Elias marveled at the depth of their intelligence and the elegance of their interactions. The taller woman then guided him toward a small clearing where the crystalline ground formed natural platforms. Elias noticed small, glowing devices embedded in the ground, their surfaces shifting in patterns of light. He understood that this was part of their technology, though it was unlike anything he had seen before. It was not mechanical or industrial, but organic, alive in its appearance and behavior. He felt a mixture of awe and curiosity, realizing that this civilization had mastered a form of science that humans had only begun to imagine. Elias took out his own devices, projecting a holographic display of Earth once again. The images appeared in the air above his hand, forests, oceans, mountains, cities, and humans performing everyday tasks. The women leaned closer, their luminous eyes following every detail. One of them reached out, her fingers passing through the holographic images. The light bent and shimmered around her touch, as if she were interacting with the projection directly. Elias realized that this was not mere fascination. They were trying to understand the essence of his world. Encouraged by their reaction, he displayed other aspects of humanity: human inventions, vehicles, simple machines, and art. He even projected music, allowing the sound waves to interact with the shimmering air around them. The women tilted their heads, their expressions reflecting surprise and delight. Elias was struck by their ability to perceive not only the visuals, but the emotions behind them. He understood that they valued not only information, but the feeling and meaning behind it. After a while, Elias attempted a new form of communication. He drew simple shapes on the crystalline platform using a stick, circles, lines, and triangles. The women watched intently, then began to replicate the symbols in the air using their fingers. The shapes glowed and multiplied as they traced them, creating intricate patterns that Elias could not have imagined. It was a form of dialogue without words, a visual and emotional conversation. He realized that intelligence and understanding could transcend language, that curiosity could bridge species and worlds. Time passed, though it was difficult to measure with the three suns moving across the sky. Elias observed the women closely. Each movement, each glance, each gesture was deliberate, graceful, and full of purpose. He noticed subtle differences among them. Some were more cautious, some more curious, and some more playful. He understood that they were teaching him, guiding him, and simultaneously learning from him. This was not just a meeting of species, it was a cultural exchange, a test of patience, understanding, and mutual respect. Elias decided to explore further. He followed the taller woman to a shallow pool fed by a small waterfall of liquid crystal. The water shimmered with the colors of the suns, reflecting their light in patterns that seemed alive. The woman gestured for him to look closely. Elias knelt and saw small, luminous creatures swimming beneath the surface. They moved with intelligence, avoiding him yet observing him carefully. The woman pointed to them and then touched her own chest, as if to convey that these creatures were important, perhaps sacred to their society. Elias nodded, understanding the significance without words. He then offered the woman a small piece of dried fruit from his kit, indicating that it was food. She hesitated for a moment, then took it delicately. As she tasted it, her eyes lit up, and she emitted a soft, musical sound. The other women observed, curious, then each took a piece in turn. Elias realized that sharing food was a universal gesture of trust and goodwill. It was simple yet profound, a bridge between their worlds. As the suns shifted and the light changed, Elias was guided to a small, elevated platform that seemed designed for observation. From this vantage point, he could see the crystalline forest, the shimmering lake, and the alien women moving gracefully across the landscape. They were teaching him without words, showing him the rhythms of their world, the patterns of life, and the interconnectedness of everything around them. Elias felt a growing sense of respect and wonder. He had not only been accepted as a visitor, but had begun to be seen as a participant in their society. Later, one of the women demonstrated a form of communication that Elias had not anticipated. She extended her hands and moved them in intricate patterns through the air. At first, he thought it was a form of sign language, but then he felt a subtle connection in his mind, a faint impression of her thoughts and feelings. Elias realized that the alien women could communicate emotionally as well as physically. Their intelligence was not limited to observation and logic. It extended to empathy, understanding, and subtle perception. He tried to mimic the gestures, and though he could not reproduce them perfectly, the women responded with gentle encouragement, their melodic voices rising in soft harmonies. By the end of the day, Elias had begun to understand the depth of their curiosity. They were not merely studying him. They were learning about humanity in a way that required patience, attention, and respect. In return, they offered him lessons about their own world, their perception of life, and their understanding of energy, light, and emotion. Elias realized that this exchange was far more meaningful than any data he could have collected with machines or instruments. It was a meeting of minds and hearts across the boundaries of species and planets. As evening approached, or the closest equivalent to night on the three-sun planet, Elias was guided to a resting area made of woven crystal fibers. The alien women created a small, softly glowing mat for him to lie on. They gathered around, forming a protective and attentive circle. Elias felt a sense of calm he had not experienced in many years of space travel. Here, in this alien world, he was safe, respected, and in a way understood. The light of the three suns faded into overlapping twilight, casting long, shifting shadows across the crystalline ground. The taller woman, the one who had first approached him, extended her hand once more. Elias took it, feeling the warmth and subtle energy flow between them. Around them, the other women watched quietly, their faces calm and luminous. Elias understood that this was an unspoken affirmation. He had passed the first stage of trust. He was no longer a stranger. He was a guest, a participant, and perhaps the beginning of a bridge between humanity and this extraordinary civilization. He lay back, gazing at the three suns as they settled into a soft alignment, the light dancing across the shimmering lake and the crystalline trees. His mind was full of thoughts about the day's events, the first gestures of trust, the shared curiosity, the small but profound acts of understanding. Elias realized that this was more than an exploration mission. It was a chance to learn about life, intelligence, and empathy on a scale he had never imagined. As the alien women sang softly, their voices blending with the shimmering sounds of the lake and the light from the suns, Elias closed his eyes. He felt a connection, not just to the women, but to the planet itself. The three-sun planet was alive in ways humans had yet to comprehend. Its intelligence was not just in its creatures or technology, but in the harmony of life itself. Elias understood that this experience would change him forever, that the lessons he learned here would shape not only his understanding, but also the potential future of humanity. He allowed himself to drift into a calm, reflective sleep, surrounded by alien curiosity, intelligence, and kindness. Tomorrow promised new discoveries, new challenges, and further opportunities to build trust. For now, Elias Kane rested, knowing that the first step in an extraordinary journey had already been taken. The suns continued their eternal dance above, casting ever-changing light across the land. The alien women kept watch, their luminous eyes filled with both curiosity and warmth. A bond had been formed, fragile but real, delicate yet strong. It was a bond built on observation, patience, empathy, and the shared desire to understand. And in that moment, Elias realized that he had crossed the first threshold into a world where intelligence, compassion, and curiosity reigned supreme. A world where humanity's future might one day meet the brilliance of the three-sun planet in friendship and harmony. The morning on. The three-sun planet dawned in a gentle cascade of light, as Elias Kane rose from the softly glowing mat where the alien women had guided him to rest. The three suns hung in the sky, each casting its own hue, one gold, one orange, and one violet. The overlapping sunlight painted the crystalline trees and shimmering lake in vibrant patterns that seemed to dance and shift with every moment. Elias stretched, feeling the soft warmth of the light on his skin, and prepared for a day that promised to be even more extraordinary than the one before. The taller alien woman, who had first approached him and guided him yesterday, appeared at the edge of the clearing, her luminous skin reflecting the light. She gestured for him to follow, moving with the same fluid grace that had captivated him from the beginning. Elias obeyed, careful to mirror her gestures to avoid startling her or the others. Around them, the other alien women observed, their glowing eyes filled with a mixture of curiosity and gentle anticipation. They led him to a broader clearing where crystalline platforms rose from the ground, forming shapes that resembled an amphitheater. The surfaces glowed softly, changing color as Elias stepped closer. He realized that these platforms were not merely decorative. They were part of a technology or system that responded to presence and thought. The women gestured for him to observe, and Elias knelt, taking in the intricate details. Patterns of light shifted and moved across the crystals, almost as if they were alive. One of the women extended her hand toward him, and a small orb of light floated from the crystalline surface into her palm. She held it out and it hovered just above her hand, pulsating gently. Elias understood that this was an invitation, a demonstration of their technology. He reached out cautiously, letting his fingers pass through the orb. As he did, a sensation of warmth and subtle energy flowed through him. It was not dangerous or painful, only strange and fascinating. He sensed that the orb responded not just to touch, but to thought and intention. The taller woman then motioned for him to try. Elias concentrated, focusing on the idea of movement. To his amazement, the orb responded, shifting slowly in the air and forming new shapes. The alien women clapped softly in their melodic voices, their eyes sparkling. Elias felt a surge of excitement and wonder. He had discovered that this civilization did not rely solely on machines or mechanical tools. Their technology was intertwined with thought, emotion, and intention. It was a form of science that humans had yet to fully understand. Encouraged by this success, Elias attempted to display more of his own knowledge. He took out a small device that projected holographic images and data. He showed the alien women diagrams of the human body, simple machines, and basic chemical reactions. The women watched intently, their fingers tracing shapes in the air, interacting with the images in ways he could not fully comprehend. At one point, one of the women touched the projection of a human hand, and the holographic image seemed to respond to her touch, mirroring her own hand movements. Elias realized that they were not only curious, but capable of understanding complex systems with remarkable speed. The day passed with Elias learning from them as much as they learned from him. They demonstrated methods of communication that combined gesture, light, and subtle telepathic impressions. Elias struggled to keep up, but he was patient, understanding that this was part of the exchange. He began to feel a deep respect for the alien women and their society. Intelligence, empathy, and curiosity were at the core of everything they did. At midday, the taller woman led Elias to a pool of liquid crystal fed by a small waterfall. The water shimmered with the colors of the three suns, and small, luminous creatures moved gracefully beneath the surface. The woman gestured for Elias to observe, pointing at the creatures and then to herself, as if to explain their importance. Elias watched carefully, noting their patterns, behavior, and interaction with the environment. He realized that these creatures were not only part of the ecosystem, but likely connected to the energy and intelligence of the planet itself. Elias decided to share a bit of human culture. He took out a small instrument, a simple flute, and began to play. The sound was soft and melodic, carrying across the crystal surfaces. The alien women tilted their heads, listening intently. After a moment, one of them extended her hands, creating patterns of light in response to the music. Elias watched in awe as the colors danced and shifted in harmony with his melody. It was as if the music and light were communicating together, bridging the gap between species. Encouraged by their response, Elias attempted to teach them a simple game, using small stones and gestures. The women quickly grasped the rules, adapting the game in ways he had not anticipated. They added patterns of light and subtle gestures, creating a richer and more intricate version of the activity. Elias laughed softly, feeling a sense of connection that went beyond words. He realized that this cultural exchange was more than entertainment. It was a form of communication, a way to understand each other's thought processes and creativity. Later, the women guided him to a high platform overlooking the crystalline forest and the lake. The view was breathtaking, sunlight reflecting off crystal trees, water shimmering with the hues of the three suns, and small creatures moving in harmony with the environment. The taller woman touched his shoulder gently, guiding his attention to the patterns of life below. Elias observed carefully, noting the balance, the rhythm, and the interconnectedness of everything. He realized that this civilization had mastered harmony not only in technology, but in every aspect of life. As the suns shifted, one casting a golden glow while another painted the sky violet, the alien women began a new demonstration. They formed a circle, raising their hands and creating a web of light that connected them. Elias was invited to join, and he stepped into the center. Immediately, he felt a subtle energy flowing through him, linking him to the circle. He sensed the emotions, thoughts, and intentions of the women, not in words but in impressions of understanding. It was overwhelming but enlightening. He felt their curiosity, their intelligence, and their desire to connect. Throughout the afternoon, Elias learned more about their society. They did not have buildings in the traditional sense, but used crystalline platforms that could shift and grow according to need. Energy was drawn from natural sources, harmonized with thought and intention. Their communication combined physical gestures, light, and subtle telepathic impressions, allowing them to convey not just information but emotion and meaning. Elias realized that humans had much to learn from such a civilization, not only technologically but philosophically. At one point, Elias was shown a problem they had been experiencing. A small energy conduit connecting two crystal platforms was unstable. The women gestured for him to examine it. Using his knowledge of physics and engineering, Elias carefully adjusted the alignment of the conduit. To his relief and amazement, it stabilized, glowing softly in response. The women surrounded him, their eyes sparkling with approval and admiration. Elias felt pride, not only in solving the problem, but in contributing to their society, however small his role might be. As the suns moved toward a soft alignment in the sky, the alien women led Elias back to the resting area. He was exhausted but exhilarated, filled with wonder at the complexity and beauty of their world. They created a softly glowing mat for him to lie on, and he watched as the suns cast long, shifting shadows across the crystalline landscape. The taller woman sat beside him, her hand resting gently on his shoulder. Elias realized that a deep bond had formed, a bond built on curiosity, respect, and shared learning. That night, as the soft lights of the three-sun planet bathed the landscape, Elias reflected on the day. He had come expecting to observe and study, but he had discovered something far more valuable: connection. The alien women had not only allowed him into their world, but had begun to teach him what it meant to think, feel, and live in harmony with a society that valued intelligence, empathy, and curiosity above all. He closed his eyes, letting the light and energy of the planet wash over him. The alien women sang softly in their melodic voices, their tones blending with the hum of the crystalline structures and the gentle ripples of the lake. Elias realized that this music was more than sound. It was communication, emotion, and connection intertwined. He felt a sense of belonging, however temporary, that filled him with hope and inspiration. Elias understood that tomorrow would bring new challenges, new opportunities to learn, and new ways to deepen the bond he had begun to form with the alien women. He knew that trust had been established, curiosity had been sparked, and understanding had begun to flourish. For the first time in his life, he felt part of something truly extraordinary, a civilization that saw the universe not as a series of conquests or resources, but as a living, intelligent system in which every being, every action, and every thought mattered. As he drifted into sleep, surrounded by the gentle glow of the crystalline mats and the melodic presence of the alien women, Elias Kane knew that the journey he had begun on the Three-Sun planet was only the first step. He had learned that curiosity could overcome fear, understanding could overcome difference, and empathy could create bonds that spanned worlds. In the quiet harmony of the planet, he felt the spark of something greater than himself, a glimpse of the potential for humans to connect with the universe in ways that went beyond technology, beyond exploration, and into the realm of true interstellar friendship. And in that moment, Elias Kane understood that the Three-Sun planet had become more than a mission. It had become a place of learning, growth, and hope. The alien women who had first surrounded him with curiosity were now guides, teachers, and friends. The light of the three suns reflected in his eyes, and he knew that humanity had the opportunity to step into a larger universe with humility, courage, and an open heart. The first true steps of understanding had been taken, and the journey toward interstellar harmony had only just begun. The morning light on the Three-Sun planet was softer than usual, a calm and gentle blend of gold, orange, and violet. Elias Kane awoke on the glowing mat the alien women had prepared for him, stretching as he prepared for another day filled with discovery. He had spent the last 2 days learning from the alien women, sharing knowledge, and beginning to understand the subtle ways their society worked. Today, he sensed, would be different. There was a seriousness in their movements, a quiet tension that he could feel in the gentle pulsations of light around them. The taller alien woman, who had become his guide and the one who first approached him, appeared at the edge of the clearing. Her expression was calm but firm, and she gestured for Elias to follow. He did so, moving carefully over the luminous ground, watching the crystalline trees sway in the soft sunlight. Around them, the other alien women observed silently, their eyes glowing with a mixture of curiosity and intent. Elias sensed that this was not just a continuation of their cultural exchange. It was a step into something deeper, a test, perhaps, of trust, understanding, and human capability. They led him to a large circular platform at the center of the crystalline forest. The platform shimmered with light, reflecting the hues of the three suns. Around its edge, alien symbols glowed faintly, shifting and changing in intricate patterns. Elias knelt, examining the surface. It was unlike anything he had ever seen. He realized that this was a place of significance, a sacred or ceremonial site. The taller woman gestured for him to stand in the center, and as he did, he felt a subtle hum of energy beneath his feet, as if the platform itself was alive and aware of his presence. The alien women formed a circle around him, their glowing hands raised slightly. Elias felt a pulse of energy ripple through him, connecting him to the circle. It was not painful or frightening, only strange and powerful. He sensed thoughts and emotions flowing around him, not in words, but as impressions of intent, curiosity, and expectation. He understood that this was a test of his mind, his courage, and his empathy. The alien women were not interested in his strength or skill alone. They wanted to know the depth of his understanding, his ability to act with integrity and compassion. The first challenge was physical yet subtle. The platform beneath his feet began to shift, forming pathways over the crystalline forest. Elias had to navigate carefully, moving over surfaces that responded to his balance, intention, and awareness. The alien women guided him with gestures, encouraging him to move thoughtfully. Every step required focus, patience, and calm. One misstep could disturb the flow of energy, and he knew that they were observing every movement. He felt his heart beat faster, not from fear, but from the concentration and awareness the trial demanded. As he reached the center of the platform, the next challenge appeared. Holographic projections of the forest formed around him, but these were not simple images. They responded to his thoughts and actions, creating obstacles and puzzles that required careful observation and problem-solving. Elias realized that the alien women were testing not just his intelligence, but his patience, creativity, and ability to perceive patterns. He moved slowly, studying each projection, analyzing how it changed in response to his gestures. After several attempts, he managed to align the projections correctly, and a soft ripple of approval passed through the circle of alien women. The next trial was more emotional. The alien women projected scenes of conflict and tension among their society. Elias could sense fear, anger, and sadness in the projections, and he understood that he was expected to intervene, not with force, but with empathy and understanding. He observed the interactions carefully, considering the feelings and perspectives of each figure. Then, he acted, demonstrating patience and compassion, suggesting solutions through gesture, tone, and subtle projection of his intent. Slowly, the projections shifted toward resolution, reflecting cooperation and harmony. The alien women's eyes glowed warmly, acknowledging his success. After a brief rest, they led him to a new area, a crystalline garden filled with floating platforms, delicate plants, and luminous creatures. The challenge here was subtle and symbolic. Elias was instructed, without words, to balance the energies of the garden. Some areas were overactive, others stagnant, and he had to find a way to harmonize the flow. He observed carefully, noticing how light, movement, and intention affected the environment. He gently adjusted the positions of crystals, shifted the flow of energy, and mirrored the gestures of the alien women. Gradually, the garden responded, the lights flowing evenly, the creatures moving in harmony. Elias felt a deep sense of satisfaction, realizing that this was more than a challenge. It was a lesson in understanding, patience, and respect for life. The final challenge was the most personal. The taller woman approached him, her glowing hand extended. Elias felt a pulse of energy, a connection that went beyond touch. Suddenly, he was aware of a series of images and emotions. The alien women's curiosity, hope, concern, and trust. It was not overwhelming, but it required him to focus and respond with clarity and honesty. He realized that this was a test of his integrity and empathy. He responded carefully, conveying calmness, openness, and sincerity. The alien woman mirrored his gestures, and Elias sensed approval radiating through the energy connection. As the challenge ended, the alien women lowered their hands, and a soft chorus of melodic sounds filled the air. Elias felt a wave of relief and exhilaration. He had passed their test, not through physical strength or technical skill, but through patience, understanding, and empathy. The taller woman stepped forward, placing her hand on his shoulder. He felt warmth and affirmation, a silent acknowledgement that he had gained their trust. Around them, the other women smiled, their eyes glowing softly with approval and respect. They then led Elias to a central pool of liquid crystal. The water shimmered with the colors of the three suns, reflecting the trees and platforms in a dazzling display. The alien women gestured for him to look closely. He observed small, luminous creatures swimming beneath the surface, their movements graceful and intelligent. The taller woman touched the water, causing ripples of light to expand across the pool. Elias understood that the creatures and the water were part of a delicate ecosystem, one that required care, respect, and understanding. The aliens were teaching him that trust and harmony extended beyond individuals to the very environment around them. Elias was invited to sit beside the pool. The taller woman demonstrated a form of communication he had only glimpsed before, subtle gestures, light patterns, and faint impressions in his mind. He tried to respond, focusing on thought, intention, and observation. Slowly, he began to feel a deeper connection, not just with the women, but with the environment itself. He sensed the flow of energy through the crystals, the water, and even the creatures within it. It was a lesson in harmony, balance, and awareness. Afterward, the alien women guided him to a resting area formed of woven crystalline mats. He lay down, feeling the soft glow beneath him and the warmth of the suns on his skin. The taller woman sat beside him, her hand resting gently on his arm. Elias reflected on the day's events. He had faced tests that challenged not just his intellect, but his patience, empathy, and understanding. He realized that the alien women were not only curious about humans, but they sought to understand whether humans could act with care, integrity, and awareness. As the suns shifted in the sky, casting long shadows across the crystalline landscape, Elias realized that he had passed a threshold. He was no longer merely a visitor or a student. He had begun to be recognized as a participant in their society. The trust he had earned was delicate but real, and he understood the responsibility that came with it. Every action, every gesture, every thought mattered. The alien women sang softly, their voices harmonizing with the gentle hum of the crystals and the ripple of the water. Elias closed his eyes, letting the sound, light, and energy wash over him. He felt a profound sense of peace and connection. The three-sun planet was not only a place of discovery, it was a place of learning, reflection, and growth. He realized that the lessons he was learning here, about patience, empathy, and harmony, were lessons humanity could carry into the wider universe. Before resting fully, Elias took a moment to observe the alien women around him. They were radiant in their calm, intelligent, and compassionate presence. Each of them contributed to the harmony of the group, their gestures, glances, and subtle energies forming a network of understanding. He realized that trust, once earned, could create bonds that went beyond language or species. It was a universal principle, one that transcended planets, suns, and civilizations. As the light of the suns shifted toward a soft alignment, Elias drifted into a calm, reflective sleep. He dreamed not of machines or technology, but of connection between species, between minds, and between hearts. The alien women remained near him, their glowing forms a comforting presence. In that moment, he understood that the journey he had begun on the three-sun planet was no longer just about exploration. It was about understanding, empathy, and the potential for humans to form genuine bonds with civilizations beyond their own. When he awoke, the suns were climbing higher, casting brilliant rays across the crystalline trees and shimmering water. The alien women were already moving, their soft, melodic hum filling the air. Elias felt a renewed sense of purpose. He had passed the challenges set before him, earned trust, and begun to form real bonds. But he knew that his journey was far from over. Tomorrow would bring new lessons, deeper understanding, and perhaps even more profound discoveries about the alien civilization and their perception of life, intelligence, and harmony. He stood, feeling the soft glow of the crystalline mat beneath his feet, and followed the taller woman and the others into the forest. The energy of the planet pulsed around him, a living reminder that life was interconnected, and that intelligence, empathy, and curiosity could create bridges across the vast distances of space. Elias Kane, the human explorer, had passed the first true test of the three-sun planet. But he knew that the greatest lessons were still ahead, waiting to unfold as he continued to learn, observe, and grow alongside the alien women who had once simply surrounded him with curiosity. The three suns of the three-sun planet had reached a high point in the sky, casting overlapping rays that painted the crystalline trees and shimmering like in brilliant hues. Elias Kane awoke on the glowing mat, feeling a calm energy flowing through him. The lessons of the previous days, the patience, the understanding, the empathy, had begun to feel like a part of him. Today, he sensed, would bring the culmination of his journey with the alien women, a day where trust, curiosity, and mutual understanding would reach their peak. The taller alien woman, his guide and companion throughout this experience, appeared at the edge of the clearing. She moved gracefully, her luminous skin catching the sunlight in waves of soft gold and violet. Around her, the other women gathered, their eyes glowing with anticipation. Elias understood that he was being invited to participate in something extraordinary, a final experience designed to solidify the bond that had been forming since his arrival. They led him toward a large, crystalline amphitheater at the center of the forest. The platforms glowed softly, reflecting the light of the three suns in mesmerizing patterns. Elias could sense the subtle energy flowing through the structure, responding to the presence of the alien women and to his own intentions. As he stepped onto the platform, he felt a pulse of energy beneath his feet, welcoming him, acknowledging him as a trusted participant in their society. The alien women formed a circle around him, their hands extended. Light pulsed gently from their fingertips, intertwining with the energy of the platform. Elias felt the connection immediately, a delicate flow of understanding and emotion. He realized that this was the culmination of their tests, the final stage of the lessons they had been imparting. The circle was not just a formality. It was a living demonstration of harmony, trust, and interspecies communication. The taller woman motioned for Elias to focus on the energy between them. At first, it was difficult to grasp. The flow of light, intention, and emotion was subtle, intricate, and responsive. He closed his eyes, centering himself, recalling the exercises, gestures, and lessons of the past days. Slowly, he felt his own energy aligning with theirs, creating a resonance that was both humbling and exhilarating. He understood that he was part of a greater system now, a network of intelligence, awareness, and empathy that extended beyond himself. The other women began to demonstrate patterns of light and motion. Elias observed carefully, noting the symmetry, rhythm, and intent in their movements. Each gesture, each pulse of energy had meaning. He tried to replicate them, allowing his own gestures to interact with the energy of the circle. Gradually, he felt the connection strengthen. The alien women responded with subtle adjustments, guiding him without words, their melodic voices providing harmony to the visual patterns of light. After a while, the taller woman extended her hand and motioned for Elias to step into the center of the circle. He did so cautiously, feeling the energy flow through him more intensely than ever. The lights around him shifted, responding to his thoughts and intentions. He realized that the alien women were not merely testing him anymore, they were sharing something profound. This was a demonstration of their trust, their willingness to include him in the heart of their society, and their belief in his ability to understand and respect their ways. They guided him to a pool of liquid crystal at the center of the amphitheater. The water shimmered with the hues of the three suns, reflecting the surrounding trees, platforms, and alien women in dazzling patterns. Elias knelt beside the pool, observing the small, luminous creatures that swam beneath the surface. The taller woman touched the water, sending gentle ripples across the surface. Elias followed her gesture, creating his own ripples. The water responded, the light shifting in harmony with their movements. It was as if the pool itself was alive, a reflection of the intelligence and empathy that permeated the entire planet. The alien women began to sing softly, their melodic voices rising and falling in patterns that Elias could feel more than hear. He joined in instinctively, allowing his own voice to blend with theirs. The pool responded immediately, glowing brighter and reflecting patterns of light that echoed the energy of the circle. Elias felt a profound connection, not only with the alien women but with the planet itself. He realized that this civilization did not separate life, intelligence, and emotion. They were intertwined in a harmonious system that valued understanding above all else. As the sun moved across the sky, the alien women demonstrated a series of movements that Elias recognized as a form of celebration. He followed them, imitating their gestures and learning their rhythm. The patterns of light and energy shifted in response, creating a mesmerizing display of color and motion. It was both a lesson and a gift, a way for the alien women to share the joy of life, the beauty of harmony, and the power of connection. Elias laughed softly, feeling a sense of wonder he had never experienced before. After the demonstration, the taller woman guided Elias to a platform overlooking the crystalline forest and the shimmering lake. From this vantage point, he could see the intricate patterns of life below. Small creatures moving in harmony with the energy of the planet, light reflecting off the crystal trees, and the soft glow of the platforms shifting in response to the presence of the alien women. Elias felt awe and humility. He had witnessed something extraordinary, a civilization that had mastered harmony not through domination, but through understanding, patience, and empathy. They then led him back to the pool. The taller woman gestured for Elias to sit beside her. She extended her hand, and he took it gently. He felt a warmth and subtle energy that went beyond touch, a connection that conveyed trust, respect, and genuine friendship. Around them, the other women watched silently, their glowing eyes filled with approval and warmth. Elias understood that he was no longer a stranger or a mere visitor. He was a trusted participant in their society, a friend, and a student of their wisdom. The alien women then demonstrated a final gesture. They extended their hands toward the pool, creating waves of light that spread across the surface. Elias followed, allowing his own gestures to interact with the energy. The pool responded magnificently, glowing with vibrant colors that reflected the harmony of the circle. The taller woman placed her hand on Elias' shoulder, and he felt a surge of understanding and gratitude. In that moment, he realized that this was more than a lesson. It was a gift. They were sharing with him the essence of their civilization: empathy, harmony, and the understanding that intelligence is most powerful when combined with compassion. Elias spent the rest of the day learning and practicing these gestures, observing the alien women, and interacting with the living energy of the planet. Every action, every gesture, every thought mattered. He felt a profound sense of responsibility, understanding that trust, once given, must be honored through care, respect, and attention. The alien women had welcomed him into their world, and he would carry that trust with him wherever he went. As the suns shifted toward a soft alignment in the sky, casting long, colorful shadows across the crystalline platforms, the taller woman guided Elias to a resting area. The other women gathered around, forming a protective and attentive circle. Elias lay down, feeling the gentle glow of the mat beneath him and the warmth of the suns on his skin. The alien women sang softly, their melodic voices blending with the hum of the crystalline environment. He closed his eyes, reflecting on the incredible journey of the past days. He thought of the first moment he had stepped onto the planet, surrounded by alien women whose curiosity had been both intimidating and intriguing. He remembered the gestures, the lessons, and the tests of patience, empathy, and understanding. He realized that every moment had built toward this culmination: the creation of trust, the sharing of wisdom, and the formation of a bond that transcended species and planets. Elias understood that his mission had changed. He had come to observe and learn, but he had gained something far greater: a connection with a civilization that valued life, intelligence, and harmony above all else. The alien women had shown him that understanding and empathy could bridge worlds, and that intelligence without compassion was incomplete. He felt humbled and inspired, knowing that humanity had the opportunity to learn from this civilization, not only about technology and culture, but about the very principles that made life meaningful. As night, or the equivalent period of soft alignment for the three suns, approached, Elias remained beside the pool. The taller woman extended her hand once more. He took it, feeling the energy flow between them, a subtle yet profound connection that conveyed trust, friendship, and respect. Around them, the other women glowed softly, their presence a comforting affirmation of the bond that had been forged. Elias realized that he had become part of their world, even if only temporarily, and that the lessons he had learned would shape his understanding forever. Before resting fully, Elias looked out across the crystalline forest, the shimmering lake, and the glowing platforms. He felt awe at the beauty, complexity, and harmony of the three-sun planet. The alien women had not only taught him about their civilization, but they had shown him the power of empathy, patience, and understanding. He knew that these lessons would stay with him, guiding his actions, thoughts, and relationships as he returned to humanity. Finally, as the soft glow of the suns bathed the landscape, Elias closed his eyes. He allowed himself to rest, feeling the connection, harmony, and trust that had been built over the past days. The alien women remained near him, their glowing forms a constant reminder of the intelligence, empathy, and curiosity that had first drawn them to him. Elias Kane had come to the three-sun planet as a human explorer, but he would leave as something more: a participant in a living, intelligent world, a student of wisdom beyond his own species, and a friend to a civilization that had welcomed him with open hearts. When he awoke the next day, the suns were climbing once more, casting their brilliant rays across the crystalline landscape. The alien women were already moving, preparing for the new day, but Elias felt a sense of calm and readiness. He had completed the journey of understanding, trust, and connection. He was ready to return to his own world with lessons, stories, and memories that would forever change the way he viewed life, intelligence, and the universe. As he stepped onto the glowing platforms with the taller woman at his side, Elias knew that the three-sun planet had given him a gift beyond measure: the knowledge that curiosity, empathy, and understanding could create bridges between worlds. And in that moment, he felt hope, not just for himself, but for humanity, and for the possibility that the universe could be a place of connection, harmony, and friendship across the stars. The alien women who had first surrounded him with curiosity now walked beside him as guides, teachers, and friends. Elias Kane smiled, feeling a sense of belonging he had never known before. The three-sun planet shimmered in the sunlight, alive with energy, intelligence, and warmth. And as he gazed at the luminous world around him, he knew that this experience would remain with him forever. A story of friendship, trust, and the boundless potential of human and alien connection.